Imagine that frustrating moment when the edges of the world start to blur. Then, a simple piece of curved glass slides in front of your eye, and reality instantly snaps back into sharp 4K focus. We treat that instant fix as a given today, but for the vast majority of human history, vision loss was a one-way street. If your eyes aged and failed, you simply accepted a permanently blurry world. For farmers or laborers, a loss of sharp detail was a frustrating inconvenience. But for ancient scholars, philosophers, and scribes, people whose entire existence revolved around reading and copying texts, it was a career-ending disaster. When your eyes could no longer resolve the ink on the page, a lifetime of accumulated study drifted out of reach. You were cut off from the written world, even while books remained in your hands. The first major efforts to overcome this biological limit began during the Islamic Golden Age. Look at this 11th century Arabic manuscript diagram of the eye. Scholars in Egypt and the Middle East had already mapped ocular anatomy and began using convex lenses to manipulate light. Their solution was a device called a reading stone. You took a large, outward curving piece of glass and placed it directly over a manuscript. As light passed through the glass, rays bent, magnifying the letters. It worked, but carried a glaring flaw. A scribe needed both hands free to hold parchment and dip a quill. Dragging a heavy rock across a page was impossibly slow. The physics of magnification were solved. The remaining problem was the user interface. It wasn't wearable. The leap from a desk tool to a wearable device takes us to a monastery in 13th century Italy. Monks here spent decades in dim candlelight illuminating manuscripts, a task demanding intense close-up focus and 2 free hands. As the older monks began losing their sight, rumors started to circulate. An unnamed brother was supposedly experimenting in secret, carving small wooden rings, mounting convex glass inside them, and balancing the rig on his nose. But before he could share the manufacturing process, this monk died. The precise technique for cutting and mounting these wearable lenses died with him. Luckily, another friar named Alessandro della Spina had been quietly observing the old man's experiments. Della Spina managed to reverse engineer the exact curvature of the glass and the structure of the wooden mounts. Rather than hoarding the secret, he freely published the design to the public. By mounting 2 lenses on a pivot, he shifted vision correction from a stationary tool into a piece of mobile hardware. Those early Italian frames were still incredibly rough. The glass was full of impurities, and balancing a heavy wooden clamp on the bridge of your nose was highly unstable, so the iterative upgrades began. Master glassmakers in Venice took over the raw material side, refining the silica to produce optically pure lenses that removed the blurry distortions. To fix the stability issue, we jumped to 18th century France. Designers added temples, the long, rigid arms that extend back and hook over the ears, finally anchoring the frames securely to the human face. But an enormous engineering blind spot remained. For 800 years, all spectacles used convex lenses. They bent light inward, which only fixed farsightedness, the inability to read things up close. It wasn't until the late 19th century that opticians successfully integrated concave lenses. These curved inward, spreading the light outward and pushing the focal point back, finally allowing nearsighted people to clearly see the horizon. Look closely at any pair of modern glasses. They are an assembly of international problem-solving, the core optics from Arab scholars, the wearable frames from Italy, the stabilizing arms from France, and the material purity of Venice. Looking closely at a vintage trial frame like this, it's easy to see how optometry evolved into a science of clinical precision. Today, we wrap our lenses in featherweight titanium, coat them in blue light filters, and embed photochromatic radars that react to the sun. Yet underneath all those modern additions, the core biomechanical function hasn't changed since that 11th century Arabic manuscript. We are still bending light through curved glass. Glasses weren't created for fashion, and no medical board mandated their invention. The drive to perfect this technology came from a fiercely human stubbornness, the desperation of aging scholars who simply wanted to keep reading, keep writing, and keep learning, even as their physical bodies began to fail. Every time you slide a pair of frames onto your face to read a book or look at a screen, you are participating in a 1,000-year-old tradition, a continuous refusal to let biology set the